What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and some more Hail Caesar for you. So we're moving along in the timeline and coming back to the Byzantines here with the Thematic Byzantine list, 7th through 10th centuries AD. And this is a monster of a list, so there's going to be a lot to digest here. This is going to be a longer video. So right off the bat, we have several army building restrictions, a lot more than we usually see or have seen here recently. This one is a list that's going to specify that we have to have infantry and cavalry, so you can't necessarily go all of one or the other. You certainly could lean more heavily to one or the other sides, but nonetheless, you have to have a little bit of everything here. Speaking of cavalry, at least half the units in the army must be cavalry, heavy cavalry units, including any upgraded to tagmata. So again, specifically 50% of the cavalry has to be these type of units. That being said, then we could potentially have Rus or Slav allies, so or the Rus rather. The Slavs allied with the Byzantines in the early part of this period, whilst the Rus and the Byzantines allied together against the Bulgars in the later years. The army can therefore include one or the other, but not both. So keep that in mind. We haven't seen artillery in a long time, but hey, we have it here. We can have up to 3 units of bolt throwers. Divisions, pretty standard stuff here, and then skirmishes in this one can be 50% of the infantry per division. So 50% of non-skirmishers, that is. So jumping into the list here, and again, there is a lot to digest. So starting off, we have the heavy infantry konteratoi with mixed ranks of long spears and javelins. So pretty good heavy unit overall. Your standard stats, and we have drilled as a baseline special rule, which is always nice to see. There's going to be a lot of that in this list. Clocking in at 32 points. For no particular restrictions, we can pay 3 more points and make them elite as well, or we can also pay extra to give the front rank basically extra armor, which basically for another 3 points if we wanted to go that route. Basically to get stubborn as well. So, and again, we can only upgrade the elite guys to the stubborn, not just straight up an upgrade to give the non-elite version stubborn. So it's kind of an upgrade within an upgrade for these guys. So all that being said, 38 points gets us some badass units and otherwise really no restrictions. So something to keep in mind. You can go fairly cheap in this list or really field tons and tons of very high-end top-tier units. We could also go mixed ranks with long spears and bows, which is pretty cool. Not as much long-range support as we've seen some of the mixed units here over the last several videos, but something is better than nothing. And again, for that privilege, we are starting out at 33 points versus 32 from the unit above, but we're still drilled, which is really cool. So I think so far, just starting on this list, having a mix of both types of units will be pretty cool overall. Really, yeah, just for the points difference there. And then similarly, we can go elite and then extra armor for stubborn. So really a powerful core of your list. But we have more heavy fighting options. So if we ally with the Rus, we have Varangians with assorted arms, which I almost feel like you definitely should be running those. History of the Varangian Guard is super, super cool, so I think that would be more appealing to me at least. But here, again, another heavy infantry unit, significantly cheaper, but again, the upgrade path is also not as involved as the above, though. But anyway, we get tough fighters as opposed to all the drilled and elite stuff up above. That's just built in at 27 points. If we wanted to give the Varangians double-handed axes, so up to half of these units for 1 extra point, it just changes the short-range fighting a little bit, but as a consequence here, we actually get Clash 8 on a heavy infantry unit here, which is silly good. And it's not a warband or anything like that, where it's going to drop off to like 6 afterwards. It's still staying at 7, so that is one very nasty unit there. And again, we can have more than one, which is cool. All right, so all of that above, that's just purely heavy infantry so far. So really, really good stuff. Then we have allied Slavic medium infantry with spears and or javelins, 23 points, pretty basic stuff there. Allied Slavic medium infantry with double-handed axes if we want to go that. So we have a medium unit at 24 points that can punch a little bit above its weight on the clash. So, but again, keep in mind it's either Rus or Slavs, not both. So, and then we have one more flavor of unit here, but this could be for either. So Slav or Rus light infantry archers, and then we could make them small units as well for the usual points totals there. But that's our first true long range unit, and really could go either way. Again, I think I'm just from looking at things, be leaning more towards having the Rus allied here just for the Varangian units, and then having some solid light infantry archers as well. Then we have Siloi skirmishers with javelins as small units, or typical skirmisher type units, starting that package of units here. So 11 points as we would expect. All right, we'll be right back as we get into the later half of the list. So we're not even close to being done yet. All right, guys, coming into the latter half of the list, and again, there's a lot in this list, as we mentioned. So more skirmishers as part of the skirmisher package here. So our slings or bows as small units. So again, more solid long-range options here. One single unit, we can upgrade them to what's called Solinarian. Gives a marksman for 1 extra point. You might as well have that one unit that can stand out like that, so no problem paying that extra point there. Then we get more skirmishers here, definitely more involved in that typical grouping of units for this list. So we can have staff slings, which I don't think we've had that before. Fielded as a small unit, and again, just one of them. So, you know, it's all right. But yeah, another 2 on the long range front. So solid, I guess, but not something we have to have. Now, this one's really cool, though. Infantry with fire siphons, fielded as a tiny unit, and only one of, has marksman, but we'll see the notes on that. And again, that goes back to the army list, but basically using some of that Greek fire for 10 points there. Then, interesting here that we come back to the more heavies here and all the different cavalry packages, right? So as awesome as the infantry stuff has been so far, we get all that and more once again on the cavalry side. So it's just such a powerhouse list, really. It's going to be hard for other contemporary lists that we've been looking at to really stand up to this, especially if you're a good general. So, all right, starting in the heavy cavalry with mix of lances and bows. So again, another utility unit there, having a little bit of both. And again, heavy cavalry going to be hitting hard as heavy cavalry does with a 9. And again, similar to the infantry where we started, right? We got drilled, and then we can upgrade them to cataphracts for 4 points. We're getting pretty expensive here, but drilled and elite. And then we can have 3 units here be tagmata cataphracts. And basically, here we're paying to make them brave as opposed to stubborn from the infantry, but another 3 points. So topping out those 3 units could cost you, well, actually they will cost you 44 points, but again, they're going to be pretty damn badass units. But wait, everything else basically has a special rule in this list, which is just bonkers. All right, so we get light cavalry trapezitoi maybe, armed with javelins, fielded as small units. These guys have feigned flight, and there's just so much more feigned flight. This is just crazy looking at this list. Extra to incorporate bow-armed riders into them. So, wow, okay, cool. For 1 extra point, and gives us a long-range punch on those. So, that's pretty cool. Then we have light cavalry versions of them as lancers. So, not just the javelin harassing type dudes, but now actually just having lances as small units. And then again, we can pay extra to incorporate bow riders there too. So very similar to above, but again, more and more feigned flight. So gosh, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different units with feigned flight here, just purely in the light cavalry section. So gosh, for some of the other factions we've seen where it's shorter, this is just like an army list of itself here, and this is just all just part of one subsection of the Byzantine list here. So they really just have some of the best and just a huge variety, as we can see here. All right, so moving from the light cavalry, now we get into mercenary cavalry. So and even the mercenaries have special stuff here. This is silly in a good way. Mercenary light cavalry with bows and javelins. Field has small units, so also good stuff there. A little bit, let's see what we got here. Looks, yeah, similar to the above, but again, just faint flight there, so seems overall a little bit more expensive. Yeah, it looks like we're paying an extra point for that mercenary part there. Mercenary horse archers as small units, again, another long-range option. Well, I guess the bows are already incorporated, so we don't have to have the extra rider upgrade, but it looks like we're still paying a point for that. So, yeah, unless I'm missing something. Although, actually, oh, the horse archers are, sorry, that's different, because we're, so, okay, so they're horse archers specifically, so they're not like cavalry, so we lose an extra clash there. But, oh, okay, yeah, so for 19 points, though, we do gain a Parthian shot on that. Okay, that's pretty cool. Last but not least, we have one more allied list here, and we get yet another heavy cavalry option. So Georgian or Armenian allied heavy cavalry with lances, and we could give them bows as well. So another just awesome utility unit, and again, yet more variety here. So another heavy cavalry unit. These guys have tough fighters. Again, just everything's got a special rule here. So tough fighters there, and if we want to add bows, so a heavy cavalry unit, essentially moving around and shooting pretty damn well, like a dedicated bow unit, really. So for 36 points, that's, I think, reasonable there. And then finally, I don't think we've seen this again with any of the other lists, but the artillery here actually has a special rule too, and they are drilled as well. So again, we can have, I think it was 3 from the initial grouping there for the army composition. So we can have 3 bolt throwers, and again at 18 points a pop, 2 more long range dice. Why not? And drilled for them as well. So sure. So basically everything on this latter half of the list here has a special rule. Again, very just bonkers. And with all the drilled and everything else throughout the list too, it's just we have the standard leadership 8 here for the division commanders and the general. Really 9 would just make this thing off the rails and absurd. But with all the drilled on here, 8 is more than adequate, even if you're not the greatest general or the dice just aren't working with you. But again, I think if you can master all the components of this list and not get weighed down by the options and just put it all together and make it work, you're going to have one hell of a tough list that should steamroll a lot of lesser armies and certainly lesser players. But also conversely, again, if you're going up against somebody with something like this, it's going to be very tough for you to crack this. They just have so much of everything, and everything is going to be more or less a special unit in the sense that there's just tons and tons of special rules floating around and some high-end units. So if it looks like it's got a smaller list with maybe not as many units, depending on all the game details that you've set up, how many divisions and all that, but really every unit could be top tier with, again, some of the just fully upgraded infantry, fully upgraded cavalry, and just, again, be some of the best here. So Thematic Byzantine, the theme is we are going to whoop your ass with this list and, conquer. Super, super cool list here. Let us know, guys, if you have fielded this list and what your successes have been. I would assume maybe not so many failures given how powerful it is, but this definitely seems like a top tier list as far as this particular point in history goes for Hail Caesar. So let us know, guys, how that's fared for you. Drop us comments. Have you tried it already with Hail Caesar 2.0? And what range of models have you used to put this together? So drop us a comment, like, and subscribe. We'll have more Hail Caesar for you guys very soon. Take care.